Well, it's the day before the day before the day. I'm Fernandez. That's Myles Martin. We're getting you set for the CIF Southern Section Football Championships. I'm from Inland Sports, and we're here at the brand new Teen Vision TV16 here at Val Verde High School. Brand new studio. This is the first show, Myles, the maiden voyage.
Hey, the maiden voyage has to start someplace, so why not put a shining spot on it and have us on it first?
Oh, I guess as long as we don't break anything, I think we're going to be good.
Yeah, we're going to be solid. And you're right. It's the first time coming through here. Great job by the Val Verde Unified School District and the thought process and the future and the vision of Robert Del Campo and John Nunez that really got this thing going and has moved to a position where this rivals any studio from NBC, CBS to ESPN.
It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Nails. It is.
So speaking from Inland Sports, honored to be here in the studio. I can't believe it's the first show, so hopefully you don't screw this up. But we've got a huge matchup to talk about as Rancho Verde was going on the road to take on St. Francis for the CIF Southern Section Division III Championship. Myles, you know the Mustangs better than anybody else, maybe outside of Jeff Steinberg, because you've seen them all season long as you broadcasted the games live here on Teen Vision. Just some general thoughts of how the Mustangs have progressed over the season, because we followed them from afar on the Inland Sports Show, and I feel like they got better as the season went on.
I think one of the things you got to look at, it all starts at the quarterback position, and you have to be concerned. You have to be thinking of, where am I, Johnny? I am right here. All right. One of the things you got to be thinking of is the quarterback, Brock White. Brock White has done a great job with his maturity. He's come along. They brought him along slowly through the Redondo Beach game. And this Rancho Verde team, if they played Rancho Verde week 1, 2, week 3, even week 4, this Rancho Verde team that you're seeing right now would just annihilate the Rancho Verde squads from the beginning of the year. They seem to be on point. They're really starting to feel where they need to be as a team, and they're beginning to believe in each other. They have a great running back in Yagorji. He does a great job coming in, and then right behind him you have the freshman Jefferson. Everyone saw his brother over there at Citrus.
Yeah, the QB.
Yeah, and he does. And from there, that 1-2 punch, that is something special. And then for me, when I started looking at Rancho Verde, I talk about him all the time, but it's Richard Lewis. I think Richard Lewis could be the top slot receiver in the area. I know I'm biased. I see what he does week in, week out, and you got to know about Richard Lewis if you're really going to defend against Rancho Verde High School.
Well, we had Jeff Steinberg, the head coach of the Mustangs, on the Inland Sports Show on Fox Sports IE 1350 AM this past Saturday as they were coming off that big win against Charter Oak in the semifinals, 41-22, the final score in that one. So a huge win in the semifinals in decisive fashion. So a huge win there. I feel like, and again, we're just scratching the surface on this, but playing their best football at the most important time of the year, of course, right now as we go to the championship game. I mean, like you said, this Rancho Verde team, as opposed to maybe week 2 or week 3, two different teams.
They're two different squads. Yeah. And you brought up Rancho Verde and how they did it in a decidingly fashion. Rancho Verde puts up 3 touchdowns defensively against Charter Oak, who comes into that game undefeated, ranked number 1 in Division III football, and they just put it on them. Unlike what occurred with that comes right through, and here's what we're talking about right there. That's Richard Lewis breaking it upfield. And unlike what you saw against Cathedral last year when they came in undefeated, Rancho Verde has a way of rising to the challenge. And with speed and how they trust their running backs to find the open space, and the way the offensive line right now is able to seal and believes that tailback is going to find the seam to carry him forward. And I just saw Yagorji coming through in that fashion. And then from there, you look at the defense. That's going to be Hunt, pick and scoop. And he did that twice during this game with 2 touchdowns. So it's the defense under Reeder, who's really starting to progress, and then the offense really feeling their oats, especially when you start looking at Brock. And defensively, with the defensive back presence back there, it's led by number 3, Carlton Johnson. Carlton's doing a great job. Had a couple picks also, and then from there, don't forget about Jackson Turner, who really got all the momentum started against them with the pick 6, right smack in the beginning. One of the fastest
guys around, right?
Holy mackerel! He took. You want to talk about somebody hawking? He saw that slot receiver. He saw him sit. Waited for the quarterback to turn
the route, huh?
And just jumped that route and was gone. He was going faster than a donut on Johnny's plate. I'm telling you something.
That's pretty fast.
It was fast. It was fast. But Rancho Verde hitting on all cylinders. And they're dangerous in their special teams, especially the punt. They have a young man back there named Manny Allen. And people do not want to kick the ball to Manny Allen. Don't kick the, I'm telling you right now, I can't figure out where I am. Don't kick the ball to Manny Allen. Manny Allen went 3 weeks in a row with a return in the punt game. And he's a special athlete. And he's so special that you have teams shanking the ball. Because normally...
They're nervous, right? Like you said, they don't want to give it to him.
They don't want to give it to him. And all of a sudden, they're used to kicking the ball downfield. And now you have coach saying, don't kick the ball downfield. And all of a sudden, what do they do? It goes off the side of their foot. It's just.
And now they're in great field position for the Mustangs, for the offense to go. Yeah.
And so when people start looking at those shanks from these punters, let me tell you something. The punter's shank is due to Manny Allen because they do not want to kick the ball down there to him. He's a special athlete back there.
Well, we saw St. Francis just a couple weeks ago as they played here at Citrus Hill in the quarterfinals, and that was a 30-20 final score there as Citrus Hill wrapped up another great season but came up a little bit short there. So going back to that game, St. Francis against Citrus Hill, let's talk about that a little bit because, again, for the Inland Empire football fans, we don't see a lot of St. Francis.
No.
We don't know much about the Golden Knights other than what we saw against Citrus Hill, and that was a 30-20 score. But you were telling me that they didn't have their starting quarterback, St. Francis, in that game.
No, their starting quarterback was Brachetti for that night, who's also their place kicker.
Oh, really?
And he's a junior, so I expect for him to take those chores over next year. Well, when you start looking at Citrus Hill, this is what Citrus Hill does. There goes Jefferson's brother right there, John, punching it in. And then from there, a little bit of an off skew. But this is the athlete right now. That's the X factor. He's the X receiver for him.
He's going to be the headache, right?
And that's the Greg Dulcich. If he gets off, because he does a great job. He's 6'4", does a great job running the skinny post, a good job on the curl, and he's big. And when he can get the ball and get downfield, he is going to be a force to reckon with. He had 134 yards in receiving against Citrus, and really, there's just no answer for what his capabilities are. Take a look real quickly. There goes Myles. Myles goes straight up the middle, tries to bounce it to the outside. This time he is successful. Over to the end zone he goes, and that's going to be a quick touchdown. Nice job, Myles, getting to the outside.
Is that Money Myles?
That's Money Myles.
Did you give him that
Money
name?
Myles. I should. And then from there, when you start looking at St. Francis, they had the ability to answer. With Brachetti being their quarterback, it puts a little bit of a different look on it. He throws a lot of air under the ball. That's going to allow the Jackson Turners. That's going to allow the Carlton Johnsons to get under the ball.
Make a play.
They can make a play. They can play a little simple. But now when they turn around and they put, I just blanked on the quarterback's name. I'm sorry about this. When they put Darius Parentes back there, that's a whole different game. Darius Parentes is going 6'3", 210 pounds. He's a legit athlete, and now the run option comes in. So if they're doing any type of an RPO run pass option, it's just different. He can turn around. He's good at the option read. He does a nice job on the sprint option and the middle zone read. He does well, and more importantly, he puts the ball on line. It's a whole different perspective and a whole different game when you have difference between Brachetti and Parentes out there.
Well, so we've been highlighting the quarterback switch for St. Francis. I was looking at their playoff games, and I told you this, that their first playoff game they barely won. And their second game, kind of a close battle as well with Citrus Hill, 30-20, right? And then their semifinal game against El Toro, they won in a blowout. I said, Myles, well, what's going on? How did they get so good? And you said they're getting guys back, like the quarterback, right?
They're getting guys back. They also got their offensive center back. That's going to be number 55. That's going to be Barkley. He does a great job out there. He's the core. And all of a sudden, when you're able to establish that triangle, you got the two guards busting up, you got your center back, you got your quarterback, and all of a sudden, gives them a little bit more time in that middle zone read. It's just lights out, and that's pretty much exactly what happened to El Toro. El Toro was unable to defend these guys. They have Armistead back there, who as one of the backs, who just absolutely torched them. And then from there, you're also looking at number 25, Washington, and he just did a great job himself. So with these two guys, and they turn around and start getting this running game going, that's really going to stretch it out for that passing game and that passing attack for St. Francis. Well, there's two things I know about Myles Martin over here. He loves two things: pickles and stats. Pickles and stats,
and we don't got pickles, so we're going to talk stats.
Let's do it.
I'm looking at the box score that you broke down from that St. Francis Citrus Hill game, And Citrus Hill did a great job of preventing the run.
Yeah.
Like that. Do you feel like with the change at quarterback for St. Francis, there'll be more opt to throw the football? I mean, considering that Citrus Hill was able to stop them on the run, like, hey, you know what? Maybe the run game's not our strong point. We're going to have to go to the air if we're going to beat this Rancho Verde team.
Well, when you start looking at Citrus Hill and their run defense, they just play a different defense. They have Coach Zolmold over there who's played all three levels of football, and he's been a defensive coordinator forever from the state titles and the undefeated seasons, led by head coach Du Bois. Then now he takes over his own. They've just done a great job. They play downhill. They play an offset three. They walk backers up, and they're able to man you. And what they do very well is their outside linebackers. People think that pressure comes from inside out, but the pressure for Citrus Hill's defense really comes from the outside in. It was led by Anthony Zolmold, his son, who did a great job this year.
Yeah, he did.
Coming off the edge. And what they do with Citrus Hill is that they force the edge and they force the edge attack. Here it is right there coming up. It's a great read. Coming through, just going through that again as I can see.
So for Rancho Verde's defense, do you think they would want to do something similar, or it's just a completely different defense?
It's a different defense. Yeah. Rancho Verde's going to run a hybrid three. It's going to be a 3-5 type look, 3-4 look, however they want to see it. They're going to offset that. They're going to bring up one of their linebackers into a defensive end position. If Rancho Verde can play defense with their 5. It's going to be a tough go because you have Green, you have Flakes, and then from there you'll also have Soto out there. Soto, Green, and Flakes is a very good defensive line, and then from there you get Dorsey and Hunt as the linebacking core. If they can contain the middle and slow down that middle zone read and force them to throw the football, wow, it's going to be something different.
When you look at, again, we keep hearkening back to this Citrus Hill St. Francis game, but because we know Citrus Hill real well, and we don't know St. Francis that well, so it's kind of our only litmus test, I guess, to get you ready for this Rancho Verde championship game. Citrus Hill offensively, you know what they're going to do. The whole stadium knows what they're going to do. They're going to run the football, right? Yep. I mean, they only threw, I think, what you said, three times in that St. Francis game. But when you look at Rancho Verde, more balanced, right? They're going to throw the football. Brock White's got a great arm. Different offensively when you compare the Mustangs and the Hawks.
Yeah, it's different offensively. Right there, you're starting to see there's Manny Allen going into the end zone for that touchdown. Rancho Verde's going to spread. They like the spread game. They're going to run empty set, and they like to run doubles. And every time you start seeing Rancho Verde come in, look for the power to come in on the backside. What they'll do, they'll bring Richard Lewis in. They'll line him up as the tight end. They'll bring Manny over. They'll put him in the wingback position, and then they'll run right off that tackle. Rancho Verde also has large splits. And they really believe in their tailback to make the proper read because the line's going to go out. They're going to seal. He's supposed to find the gap and go take it. Offensively, you can't key on any Rancho Verde receiver because if you start keying on Page, they're going to throw it to Woodson. You start keying on Woodson, they're going to throw it over to Allen. And don't forget about Simpson.
Weapons, right?
And don't forget about Simpson coming in, another receiver off the slot. Rancho Verde is not going to key on one receiver. They're able to distribute the ball just the same way that Fernandez can distribute the ball for St. Francis. It's really going to come down to defenses and who can stop whom. And for Rancho Verde, they're going to have to be able to stop that run, and that run's going to start with the quarterback.
You know, we did a high school football show on Friday nights, and Johnny and Teen Vision would send us their highlights to put in the show, and every time I'd see the highlights, I'd have to turn up the audio and listen to you because every week I was like, wait, who's that guy? Like there was a guy like every single week. I mean, there were a couple of them through the season, like Ugorgi and a couple of those guys. You're like, okay, I know who those guys are by now. But it seemed like every single week, like there was, Brock White had all these different weapons going to the end zone. I had to turn you up. I was like, whoa, I got to hear Myles have the call because I got to find out who this guy is. There's so many weapons offensively.
Yeah, they have 7 different receivers going through there. And then from there, when they go empty set, they're just going to bring their tailback, whether it's Gorgie or even the freshman Jefferson. They're going to put him right there at the H and expect him to step up as a senior. And when you're dealing with Rancho Verde, they all know they need to step up, and they all do step up. Just as you saw Citrus and their running game, it's the same thing with D. Myles as the quarterback, stepping up on that side. But for Rancho Verde, do not forget about Greg Whitty, the offensive center. He's been starting there for a few years. He is the anchor of that, and if he can control that nose tackle, because you're going to start looking at St. Francis coming in, they're going to be standing, and as long as Rancho Verde doesn't get confused in their assignments, Greg Whitty's going to be down there making some calls. Look for them to combo that thing up the middle.
It's funny you bring up Greg Whitty because I saw something on, I think it was Instagram, where Greg Whitty, as you said, a leader on the field, but also a leader off the field, addressing the team. And at this point of the season, when you make a CIF Southern Section Championship game, it's about coming together. It's about that family, that cohesive team unit. And based on social media, Greg Whitty's one of those guys rallying the troops. Like, hey, guys, you know what? Especially as a senior, let's go out with a bang. This is it, man. This is what you put all those work when you show up in July and August and hit the weight room and you do all the cardio stuff, and it all comes down to this one game and a guy like Greg Whitty trying to get the guys ready, get their mind right, and bring that family together.
Yeah, because there's 4 seniors on that offensive line. It's Balcazar, Whitty, Hernandez, and Halalelo. Those guys want to take this thing to the house. They want to go to the championship, and they want to do it. The one who's going to be coming back next year is going to be Tapasa. He's going to be your junior. Everything's going to come right back on to him. But when you start looking at this offensive line, it's a strong unit. It's a good unit. And Coach Cronk, he's going to have his work cut out for him when facing St. Francis. It's definitely going to be a challenge. St. Francis, they're going to be blitzing. They're going to like to bring the pressure up the middle, especially with these big gaps. And Brock White, for some reason, is doing a great job reading the hot side, and look for him to hit that quick slant, get the backers, move their backers back, and here we go.
So 2011 was the last time Rancho Verde won that CIF title, right? Against,
yes.
I think it was at Palm Springs, I want to say, right? So
under Coach Duff.
Coach Duffy, yeah. So they're trying to get it done again. I was here in 2000, I believe it was 13, right? Mm-hmm. Against Heritage in the Central Division.
Yes.
Ooh, man. That was
a game.
They lost, but it was one of the best games I'd ever seen.
Yes, so. It's a kick.
Oh, I'm reliving it in my mind. I felt awful. You know,
as we're speaking about it, Coach Duff is holding his head.
Yeah.
So,
but it was a fantastic finish. I think it was, 34-33. I think Heritage won by 1.
And then Heritage goes on and wins.
Yeah.
They win the whole thing.
So that was a fantastic finish there. But Rancho Verde now trying to win the Division III championship. And, making the championship game, they're probably going to go to Division II next year if you want to look that far ahead, because they were so good this year. They'll probably get bumped up.
They're probably going to get bumped up. Yeah. The same thing happened to Citrus Hill. They got bumped up to Division II. Then they played Norco the first round, and that kind of simmered things down. Then they fall back to Division III. But talking about moving divisions, I mean, St. Francis. St. Francis Division II, Division III. Western Division 4 twice, then back over to their Division 3 up again, the Northern Division again. They've been all over the place. Yeah. And they've been successful every place that they've gone. It is a team that's confident in what they do, but yet they're not cocky. So it's not like Charter Oak coming in here thinking they're going to roll the house, or like Cathedral think they're going to roll the house. That wasn't a recipe for success against Rancho Verde 2 for the last 2 consecutive years. But St. Francis is a different mindset, different set of coaches, and it's going to be real interesting to see Rancho Verde deal with the pressure that's about to come on them, because it's coming, and also to deal with what they're going to see with St. Francis, not only defensively, but offensively with that quarterback.
All right, Myles, let's sum this up here. What do you think are the keys come Friday night as the Mustangs hit the road for the, I guess you'd got the La Cañada area, right? Flint Ridge area to take on St. Francis for the CIF Southern Section Division III title. What do you think the Mustangs are going to have to do well to come away with that championship? Defensively,
they got to read. They got to play the game honest. They have to be focused on the reads. If they're playing a free safety or if they're playing a two-shell, they're going to have to respect what's going on, because St. Francis will spread the football around the field. Unlike you start looking at some high school football teams, hey, if they're strong right, they're just going to work to the right side. That's going to take out 1/3. That takes out 2/3 of the field. With St. Francis, what they're going to be able to do with their running game and also that passing game, they're able to distribute that ball any way they want. Also with St. Francis, they are not afraid to threaten the middle of the field. Look for the skinny posts. Look for the in patterns. Look for the outside digs. They're going to flood it, and then from there, it's going to be RPO. If they're read pass options and the middle zone read, and then from there, if they think they can get the edge on you, and the linebackers aren't coming up, which is going to be another key for Rancho Verde, look for a sprint option. My key is that you're looking at your 2 outside linebackers It is going to be very important for them to play extremely well, and that's going to be dealing with Sutherland and Dalton. They have to bring their game in. If they can do that, because the middle's stout. The middle with Hunt and Dorsey, that's stout.
Yeah.
But they're going to try to exploit the edge. Rancho Verde has to set that edge and force it into their big, strong middle linebackers defensively.
Well, St. Francis 12-1, Rancho Verde 11-2, and that will be the CIF Southern Section Division 3 championship. I think some of the Rancho Verde crews heading that way, right, to shoot some video. So we'll have some video highlights maybe here on the Cube or on the Inland Sports Show as well, and we'll kind of break down their Friday night contest for that Division 3 championship. So best of luck to Jeff Steinberg, the Mustangs. He's a friend of mine. He's a friend of yours as well.
Yeah,
great guy. We're cheering for Rancho Verde. See if they can bring home the CIF title this Friday against St. Francis. And best of luck to Aquinas, Cajon, and Big Bear, the 3 other Inland Empire schools playing for CIF Southern Section Championships this Friday and or Saturday. So hopefully we'll have some winners coming home back to the IE. Myles, I appreciate it, man.
It was great, man.
Maiden voyage. We didn't break anything.
I think we did well. I like it. I like the film and everything else.
Yes.
Man, what do you say? I think I'll make a home here. What do you think? Maybe we're on our own sports program.
There you go. We don't have to leave, right?
We don't got to leave.
Big thanks to Johnny and Teen Vision TV16 here at Val Verde High School. We always appreciate their support and our partnership the last several years, and we're just excited that they have a new place, some new digs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be crashing the party a lot here. So
come on over. Make sure Dinah gets a donut. Big guy get here first.
Best of luck to the Rancho Verde Mustangs. I'm Pep Fernandez, and we'll see you next time on the Inland Sports Show.
Let's go Mustangs!